You know those moments in life, a coincidence so weird it just makes you stop and think, what are the odds? Well, it turns out history is absolutely full of them. We're talking about moments so perfectly, so bizarrely aligned, they almost defy any logical explanation. Today, we're going to look at some of the wildest true stories ever recorded, moments that really blur the line between just random chance and something else. So, here's the big question we're tackling today. Are all these strange echoes and unbelievable connections just, static? Just random noise in the beautiful chaos of history? Or could they actually be pointing to something more? A hidden pattern, maybe? Some kind of connection that we just don't fully get yet? Let's dive in and look at the evidence. We're going to start with one of the spookiest categories, moments when authors basically seemed to write the future, crafting these fictional stories that later came true in absolutely terrifying detail. So way back in 1838, the master of all things dark and creepy, Edgar Allan Poe, published his one and only full novel. It's this grim tale about survival at sea, and it ends with a truly horrific choice. The starving crew members kill and eat the cabin boy. In the book, his name is Richard Parker. A terrible story for sure, but it's just fiction, right? Well, let's fast forward 46 years. Poe's fictional horror story is, unbelievably, about to play out for real. In 1884, an English yacht called the Mignonette sinks out in the South Atlantic, and it leaves 4 crew members adrift in a tiny lifeboat. Sound familiar? And this is where it gets just completely unbelievable. Just like in Poe's book, the starving survivors make that same awful decision to kill and eat the weakest person on board, the cabin boy. And what was his name? You guessed it, Richard Parker, the exact same name from a work of fiction written almost half a century before. As totally chilling as that is, it's not even a one-off thing. An even more famous disaster was also, it seems, predicted in a novel years before it ever happened. Okay, check this out. In 1898, a writer named Morgan Robertson published a novel about a massive, unsinkable ocean liner called the Titan. And in his story, this ship hits an iceberg in the North Atlantic and sinks. The loss of life is catastrophic, mainly because there weren't enough lifeboats. Does that ring any bells? 14 years later, the Titanic, a real ship, also called unsinkable, does the exact same thing. The parallels are just jaw-dropping. All right, next up, we've got what I'm calling fateful encounters. These single, tiny moments, a wrong turn or a chance meeting that ended up changing the entire course of human history. So picture this, June 28, 1914. A group of assassins completely botches their first attempt to kill Archduke Franz Ferdinand in Sarajevo. Later that day, the Archduke's driver, trying to get to a hospital, takes a wrong turn. And as he's trying to back the car up to fix his mistake, the engine stalls, right in front of a cafe where one of the original failed assassins, a dejected Gavrilo Princip, just happens to be standing. The universe literally delivered his target right to his feet. Just think about that for a second. That one single, impossibly coincidental wrong turn lit the fuse for World War I, a conflict that would go on to claim over 20 million lives, all from one wrong turn. This next one is one of history's most tragic and unbelievable ironies. Edwin Booth, who was one of the most famous actors of his day, was on a train platform when he saw a young man fall into a dangerous spot. He pulled him to safety, only later did he find out he'd saved Robert Todd Lincoln, the son of the president. Just a few months after that, Edwin's own brother, John Wilkes Booth, assassinated President Abraham Lincoln. I mean, one brother saves a Lincoln, the other kills one. You can't make this stuff up. Okay, this is wild. In 1900, King Umberto I of Italy is having dinner and meets the restaurant owner who looks exactly like him, a perfect double. But then they start talking and the similarities just get insane. They found out they were both named Umberto, they were born on the very same day in the same town, they both married women named Margarita, and they both had sons named Vittorio. I mean, it's like they were cosmic twins. But then, the story takes an even darker turn. The very next day, the king is told that his double, the restaurant owner, was killed in a shooting accident. Just hours, literally hours after hearing this news, an assassin steps out of a crowd and shoots the king dead. They lived these bizarrely parallel lives, and in the end, in this final tragic twist, they died on the exact same day. All right, Now we're diving into connections that seem to just defy genetics, defy logic. We're talking stories of twins who were separated at birth and families that seem to be haunted by repeating tragedies. Get ready for this. This is the incredible true story of the Jim twins. They were separated at birth, and they met for the very first time when they were 39 years old, only to discover their lives were practically identical. Okay, get this. Both had named their first son James. Both had married a woman named Linda, and then divorced her. Both then remarried a woman named Betty. Both owned a dog they had named Toy. It just goes on, right down to driving the same car, smoking the same brand of cigarettes, and even vacationing at the same Florida beach. How is that possible? That's an amazing story of connection, right? But sometimes these echoes, they aren't just fascinating. They're incredibly, incredibly tragic, repeating with a kind of precision that is just chilling. In Bermuda, in 1974, a 17-year-old boy named Neville Eben was tragically killed when his moped was struck by a taxi. Almost exactly 1 year later, his brother Erskine, who was also 17, was killed. He was riding the same moped on the same street and was struck by the very same taxi, being driven by the same driver who was carrying the same passenger. It's a coincidence so painful and so bizarre it's almost impossible to comprehend. Okay, for our final section, we're gonna switch gears. We're looking at a story not of some tragic fate, but of impossible survival. A man who stood at the heart of two of history's most destructive moments and just walked away. So I want you to meet Tsutomu Yamaguchi. In August of 1945, he was just a regular engineer on a 3-month business trip, and the city his company sent him to was Hiroshima. On August 6th, the United States dropped the first atomic bomb on Hiroshima, and then, 3 days later, a second bomb was dropped on the city of Nagasaki. Mr. Yamaguchi was about to find himself unbelievably at the very center of both events. And that's because Mr. Yamaguchi is the only person officially recognized by the government of Japan as having survived them both. He was less than 2 miles from Ground Zero in Hiroshima. He was badly burned, but he somehow managed to get on a train to go home, which just happened to be Nagasaki. He arrived just in time to be less than 2 miles from the second atomic blast. And incredibly, he survived that one too. He went on to live to be 93 years old. And the list of these strange bookends to life just goes on. Mark Twain was born as Halley's Comet passed by, and he actually predicted he'd go out with it. And he did. He died the day after its return 75 years later. And even stranger, how about this? Founding fathers and bitter rivals John Adams and Thomas Jefferson both died on the exact same day, July 4th, 1826, the 50th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence that they both helped create. So, what do we make of all this? The predictions, the wrong turns, these impossible connections? Are these just wild flukes in a chaotic world? Or are we getting glimpses of some kind of hidden pattern? A sign that maybe some things really are meant to be? It's a lot to think about, right? So, what do you think?